Wait, what? A car with no debt? Is that possible? Heck yeah, it's possible. We just paid cash for a car, and I would like to share with you the ways that we did it, because I honestly think this is an achievable goal for anyone out there who wants this to be a goal for them. Of course, not everybody wants to pay cash for a car. Maybe you don't have the ability to, maybe you need a car right away and you don't have the ability to save for it, or maybe you just really want a newer car with certain new, features that only newer cars have, and that's a lot of money to save. Honestly, I think people can even save for a brand new car if they wanted to. It would just take a little bit longer. So first, before I get started, let me tell you a little about my car, which I will insert a clip of in just a quick second. It is a 2005 Toyota Highlander, which is the car we've been wanting for a really long time. And the reason why we chose a Toyota Highlander was several things. It is a 7-passenger, so it has a back seat that can fold down or fold up to get, a couple extra people in there, which is great. There's tons of room. The trunk is a lot bigger. The back seat has a lot more leg room, so it's much more comfortable if we're driving around with adults in the back seat, which does happen sometimes. So yeah, there's just a lot of different things that we really liked about the Toyota Highlander. My old Toyota RAV4 did not have a roof rack. This one does. This one has running boards, so it's much easier to get in and out of. Lots of things we really like about it. A while back, I did a video about how I didn't really want to buy a new car. My husband and I were saving for one, and then we basically said, well, our car that we have is working fine. Why even buy one? Well, here's the thing. Here's what happened. It died. He was driving home from work. We had switched that day. I was taking his truck for some reason. And the transmission went out, which it went from working perfectly to dead in like one day. It did not have any signs that the transmission was going to go out. Sometimes it'll stop working in reverse, or, some of the gears start getting sticky, those sorts of things. It did not show any signs of going out before it actually did. And so it kind of sucked. It died literally out of nowhere. And so we had to buy the thing kind of quickly. And I'm really glad that we had some money set aside to be able to do so. So here are some of the things that we did to buy our car and pay cash for it. The first thing we did is we saved money. For a long time, we put money away into a separate account, but we put the money into a separate account and we treated it kind of like a bill. Whenever a certain amount of money would come in that we wanted to get toward that savings goal, we put money toward it. So if you had a car payment and your car payment was going to be $300 a month, $400 a month, whatever, put that money into a savings account ahead of time, and then you have that money ahead so that when you go to buy your car, you have that lump sum to buy it with, and then you don't have to negotiate, you don't have to get, your credit pulled, you don't have to go through all of these different things, and you have more options. When you buy a car and you pay for it with cash, you don't have to go through a dealership. You can go through a private party, which is my favorite way to buy cars. I honestly think that the private parties maybe have even a little bit better quality cars than the dealerships frequently do, and I know that you can actually get them cheaper. So when you look up on Kelley Blue Book, there'll be a price for a private party, and then there'll be a price for if it were through a dealership. And so dealerships have like handling fees and all this different stuff you have to pay for that you avoid having to pay for when you buy it through a private party. So having money set aside that we were paying toward made a big difference when it came to paying cash for our car. When we had extra money come in, we would put that toward that savings goal. So whenever I made like some babysitting money back when I was doing that last year, that was extra money that we wouldn't notice if it came in or not, and so we just immediately stuck that toward it. If we would sell things frequently, we would put some of the money into that account. Again, that was extra money that our budget wouldn't even notice if it wasn't there, so we just immediately stuck that toward it. If there's extra work, so if you have an extra job, which is one of the things that we did to get some extra money added toward it this year, I had some renters that broke their, leases and moved out early and blah, blah. And it made it to where there was some unexpected work that I didn't know that was going to come our way. And so I excitedly took it on, and all of the money that we made from that went to our car fund. So that was exciting. If you have like overtime or other things like that, again, this is all extra money that you wouldn't notice if it wasn't there. So putting it toward the savings goal makes a big difference. And so basically that is how we had the money up front to where we were able to buy the car itself. So let's move into some used car buying tips that I would like to share with you. The number one thing that I highly recommend though when you're choosing a used car is that you research it, especially if it's used and older. There's going to be a lot of people who have written reviews, and you can pretty much find out all of the different types of problems that the car frequently has. When you're buying something brand new, you don't know what kind of things are going to come up with it as far as the issues go. But when it comes to used, people have already had them for years and driven them for many miles, and you know about when the transmission goes, about when, the clutches might give out, or what kind of, depending on the type of car it is, but the different issues. Is it going to have AC issues? Is it going to have, whatever, all the different types of issues cars can have. You can better know which ones are going to break less, or you can better know when the sorts of bigger issues might come up. And you know that if you're buying a Jeep and it has problems at about 180,000 miles and you're buying it at 170, it's not going to go very long before it's going to have a major issue like my last Jeep. So yeah, definitely do a lot of research. I highly recommend this step. It's a big purchase, and so many hours of research is definitely needed before making the plunge for a purchase. The next thing I would highly recommend is getting it checked out by a mechanic. This is money well spent. We went and looked at the car, we test drove it, we decided we liked it, and then when we came back, we brought a mechanic that we have been using for several years with us to come and check it out. And he looked at it, he looked underneath and in the engine, and he test drove it himself, and he spent quite a bit of time with the car looking at it, and then he gave me a piece of paper with some of the things that he felt like it needed, big or small. And so anything from oil change, which he said it needed, up to a big repair like the timing belt, he's able to better tell you, she, whoever your mechanic is better able to tell you what the car needs. And this can be helpful for several reasons, so that you can make sure you're not going to buy something that's going to need a major repair immediately, so it won't be expensive right after you bought your new car. It's not going to die right away, so hopefully something that's going to last for a little while. And also, this can be a helpful negotiation tactic, which is my last tip. Don't be afraid to negotiate, especially if you've had a mechanic look at it and there are some issues. If you're buying a used car, there's going to be some issues, I'm sure. Very rarely are you going to look at a used car and it's in absolutely perfect condition with absolutely nothing being needed. And so if you feel like the price that they're asking isn't reasonable, you can ask for a little bit off because, I need to get an oil change and it needs transmission fluid changed and, these other small things, and then they can maybe go down on their price for the things that the car needs. And then you can get the car down to a price that you're more comfortable with. You can also negotiate for damage, but again, I highly recommend being really positive and upbeat when you're negotiating, because as soon as the other person gets upset, you've pretty much lost the deal. So, don't point out every tiny little ding or spot. Point out things that, oh, well, I did notice it needed this and this is how much it costs. Would you be willing to work with me? Keep the conversation positive and upbeat. That way they're willing to work with you on the price. So there you go, friends. That is how we got a used car. We made sure to get a good one. It's been working for us for a while now. I'm feeling fairly confident that it's going to work out for us for quite some time. I'm hoping to keep it for at least a good 4 or 5 years. And we were able to get it for $1,000 under the Kelley Blue Book value, and in an area where SUVs, like the Highlander is. We live in an area where SUVs are in high demand, and four-wheel drives in general, just because we get a lot of snow here, and so people do look for four-wheel drives to make sure that they're going to be able to get where they're going. Like half of the year. Our winter is like 5 months, 6 months here, seems like. Anyway, so there you go, friends. This is our new car and how we paid cash for it, and I hope these tips and tricks were helpful to you in the event that you ever need to buy a used car, or if you have a goal to buy one and pay cash. So thanks for joining me. I'm Frugal Green Girl, and we'll see you next time.